Hey guys, how are you doing today? Welcome back to Remeets World. I am your host, Mark Leafy, and I am so unbelievably excited to be returning to you guys for this episode of Remeets World. It'll be episode 3, Father Knows Less, which is an episode that I barely remember. That doesn't matter. But we're here, we're happy. It's Monday. Um, no new news report from the Boy Meets World universe because that's just how it is, so which is nice. I hope everyone's had a nice, safe weekend. Um, and yeah, we're on our way. So if you haven't watched episode 3 of season 1, Father Knows Less, I highly recommend you go on the Disney Plus or however you want to watch the episode and watch it right now. All right, so I assume that you paused us and watched it, or press play and watch it. It doesn't matter. If you paused us, came back in 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. If you whatever, it doesn't matter. You watch it. That's what matters most. I want to start off with the IMDb trivia for this episode. This is one of the ones that does have IMDb trivia for the episode. Mr. Feeney tells Corey about the war in Europe, which we'll talk about a lot more later, when he was a kid. Corey asks if he will learn about the war, to which Feeney says, I think you will someday. In season 5, the car transport, like Sailor of the Cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, transports Corey back to the 1940s because TGIF has some crossovers, and that episode is a very iconic one that we'll get into when we get there for Remeets World. Yeah. So for those that don't know the format, basically what's going to happen is I will talk about the episode, like the actual plot, and then I'll talk about what happened in the episode that made me, well, there are interesting things to talk about, okay? So the plot of Father Knows Less. Alan is supposed to take Corey to watch the Navy Blue Angels, but an emergency happens at work causing him to miss it. He wakes Corey up to watch a no-hitter causing him to fail a test in Phoenix class. Then the repercussions happen. So at the top of the episode, we see Alan and Corey making sandwiches, and there was just literally like a whole fucking thing of bologna like that thick on the sandwich. That's too much bologna. Like, honestly, like, I'm not a big fan of bologna, but that's just way too much bologna. Like, there is such thing as too much bologna, and there is way much more than that. Like, I'd say at tops, maybe tops 4 pieces of bologna if you like bologna. I'm not a bologna person, but they have like maybe like 30 or 40 pieces of bologna. But then they put like their chips on. Chips, I'm very okay with putting some potato chips on things. It's good. Corey puts chocolate chips, which is proclaimed immediately as a game changer. I find it very funny and very interesting. It's just how it is sometimes on Boy Meets World. It's our first of 2 appearances of Leonard Spinelli, played by Willie Garson, from Sex and the City fame. For those that don't know, he plays 3 different characters in the series. And this is his first appearance. I think he does like one every like 2 or 3 seasons. This one, like, he's appeared on the show 4 times, so he plays Leonard Spinelli twice. Leonard Spinelli is a very interesting person to me. Like, he's for those who don't remember, he's the assistant manager at the grocery store that Alan works at, and he's got the self-confidence of a person that does not know how to interact with people. Literally, he introduces himself to every Matthews person like 5 times, and they're all like, you don't need to do this. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I think people will forget about me, which I understand, but you can't forget that because Leonard Spinelli is a lot. The first time he appears is because of an accident that makes me laugh way too hard. Okay, so there's, for those who don't remember, there's Perrier stored above the produce section, right? And there's a spill because it overweighs the produce area, and it breaks all these eggs, and it goes down aisle 6. So you have all this egg water happening, and in aisle 6, that's where Alan says there's 10,000 tabs of Alka-Seltzer. So you have people covered in egg, Perrier, and Alka-Seltzer. That's a lot. That's a huge issue there. Corey talks about doing ballet in this episode because he can't like hang out with his dad, like watch baseball and stuff like that. I'm going to take the stance of Corey should do ballet. As a person that did ballet in college briefly for my theater diploma, he's got the moves. And also, it helps you understand yourself better. So if you want to play baseball, you understand your actual, like, where you live in the world better. That's just my stance on ballet. Again, later in the episode, there's more fucking baloney. They eat so much goddamn baloney in this episode that, like, there must be a baloney shortage in Philadelphia because of this. Like, it's insane how much baloney they have in their body. And it's always, like, the same, like, full package of baloney like that. Man, it's just like, that's too much goddamn baloney. Whatever. Too much baloney. This is the first time that we get Sassy Minkus, which I think is a very fun thing. We don't get him that often in the series because Minkus isn't around that long. We'll get to that Minkus moment towards the end of the episode because that's where it's going to live. But it's the first time we have Sassy Minkus. Just need to point that out there. We see Feeney being strict to a parent for the first time ever in this episode and not backing down, which I find so fascinating because I dare say Feeney is harsher to Alan than he is to Corey about what happened. This is a pretty good Feeney episode, honestly. Like, we get a lot of what makes Feeney Feeney, and that's great. Corey says Feeney is a butt right after this. Alan tells him, do not call him that, and he sends him upstairs. When Corey is out of earshot, Alan calls Feeney a butt to his wife, Amy. Yeah, Feeney's a fucking butt, dude. When Larry Spinelli comes back later in the episode, I am just concerned for him as a human being because he really doesn't have any confidence at all about anything. Like, I just don't understand. This guy's like about 40 years old or so. He's an assistant manager at a grocery store, so he should have some like confidence, unless he he's been there his whole life. But what kind of person walks around life with no confidence, reintroduces himself to 6-year-olds, and then has to tell their boss about lighter fluid next to rotisserie chickens? Like, this guy has like the worst life ever. And yes, that's the reason why the second time he comes back, because lighter fluid is next to where they store the rotisserie chickens, means a lot of burnt chickens. Like, what kind of grocery store does Alan run? Alan hates his job. No one respects him. It's, like, very sad. Now, the crux of this episode for me is actually towards the end of the episode. After everything kind of goes to shit. And Corey goes across the fence to Feeney, and they start talking. And basically what happens is Corey sees there's, like, a decanter of alcohol, it looks like, and asks if he can have some. Feeney says yes. We find out it's apple juice. Feeney does not like alcohol. That's an interesting character trait that we learn. I don't know. They then have this amazing, beautiful scene for the next 3 to 5 minutes of the show, and it involves this monologue about the war in Europe and why Feeney couldn't have his father back in the 1940s because of all this stuff. And like how his father was strict and all that stuff. And it's just, you start to understand the character of George Feeney a lot in this episode. Like, yeah, it's one of the meaner episodes of Feeney, but it's still a great Feeney episode. That's the most important thing about it. We also learned that like Feeney has a lot of love for Corey during this, and it's just really beautiful what happens there. And during that scene, World War II is only referred to as the European sneaker war because sneakers needed to go out there for, well, like rubber needed to go out there for everything. And it's just this beautiful moment. And you start to understand that both Feeney and Alan are correct for different reasons. Alan is correct for wanting to spend time with his son. Feeney's correct for saying that studying is important. But it's important to like right down the middle of the line is where the most important thing is. Now, you don't get this too much in TGIF shows, especially in the early 90s. The episode ends on a sex joke. That's the last thing you get in the episode. There's like, it's implied that Alan and Amy are about to have sex. Cool. All right, so now it's time for the Minkus Minute. Hit it, Mark. Minkus Minute. All right, so the Minkus Minute. All right, so this is the first time that we see Minkus making, like, he's only in like 2 scenes this episode. I think just one. I'm not sure. But Minkus is barely there. The first time we see him, he's making the most elaborate piece of origami that I've ever seen. Like for a kid, it's got the tail moving and everything, and the head moves. It's really, really cool. And he wrote an essay when it's not needed to at all for this exam that Feeney's giving, and he calls Sean who's still unnamed, by the way. He calls Sean, the unnamed Sean, a future plumber, like 3 times in 3 different ways in this episode. And to give more to the sass of Minkus in this episode, when Feeney is scolding Corey about staying up late to watch the game, he's like, "Oh, you could have watched the Nobel Prize to see who wins instead." And then Minkus lists off, like, I guess every Nobel Prize winner that happened that day. Very funny, very Minkus, and that is the Minkus Minute. Minkus Minute. So, now we're on to my favorite segment of the show, where we dissect and understand why Betsy Randle is the best TV mom ever. A one, 2, 3, 4. Betsy Randle's the best TV mom. Yeah. So she in the beginning of the episode, the whole baloney bullshit happening. She tells Corey and Alan that they need to eat something healthy, which makes sense. She gives them apples while they're dealing with the chips and shit like that. And then she talks about washing Corey's underwear. Now, I don't know how bad 11-year-old underwear is. I know how underwear can be. But I imagine it's probably, not the cleanest shit in the world. And this is the first episode also. Like, this is huge, what I'm about to say. This is the first episode of the whole series that we learn that she wears the pants in the family. Amy Matthews is the best TV mom. And Betsy Randle is the best TV mom ever. So, wrapping up this episode, I always have to end it with an MVP of the episode, and I also have to give it to William Daniels. He gives Feeney such new layers in this episode that we never experienced before, and it heightens the comedy and the tension. And then he has this amazing monologue about the war in Europe, or the sneaker war, or the European sneaker war, and it's the first time they actually truly understand that Feeney is a caring human being. And he wants the kids to do well. Not just as a teacher, but as a friend. And that's beautiful. Like, Feeney's those people that grew on me a lot while watching the show. And it's really nice to know that he had so much richness even there even in episode 1, honestly. But, like, the fact that he is definitely the MVP of this episode. This episode does not work unless he is purely, for lack of a better word, a dick. So yes, William Daniels, George Feeney is the MVP of the episode. Now, if you want to tune in to future episodes, it's very easy. You guys subscribe, rate us if you'd like. It all helps. We're crossed 100 viewers this week, which I'm very proud of. I know it's a slow rollout, which is okay. I'm not stopping anytime soon. This is a lot of fun because this is what we need right now. We need fun. We need to remember our times as a kid and stuff like that. If you want to be on the show, if you have questions for the show, I will answer your question on the air. Mark remeetsworld@gmail.com. We'll get you all the information you need. Like all our videos, subscribe to us. I'll see you next time with our first actual guest. See you then.